Hi, this is Leonard from Master Sprinter TV. Today we're going to talk about the concepts of PAP, which is post-activation potentiation, and PAPE, which is post-activation performance enhancement. Now, they both generally refer to the use of a prior muscular contraction to temporarily enhance a subsequent explosive performance. So the older term PAP refers to a physiological improvement in force output after a heavy or high intensity contraction, which temporarily improves the capability to produce greater force. And so basically in this scenario, the neuromuscular system is primed for peak performance. Now the newer term, PAPE, refers to a performance boost after an intense activity or stimulus, which results in increased muscle temperature, greater motor unit recruitment, and CNS activation. Now, some examples of what some coaches and athletes might refer to as contrast training. One example would be to, say, do a heavy low rep squat, followed by a period of rest and a sprint. Maybe a depth jump, followed by a period of rest and a block start. Or maybe a resisted sprint, followed by a period of rest and a free sprint. Now, in all three of these examples, you're going to have increased motor unit recruitment, increased start or acceleration force mechanics, increased rate of force development, an increase in reactive strength, and then also an increase in nervous system activation. So the next concept to understand now is what is referred to as a potentiation window. So potentiation window is the period after a powerful activation exercise when performance is temporarily enhanced before fatigue begins to dominate. So in this scenario, your nervous system is maximally primed. You've got some activation stimulus. It could either be, a plyometric jump. It could be a short acceleration sprint, a low rep heavy squat, and you've got what's called potentiation, which is exceeding fatigue for a period of time up to 10 minutes, but let's just kind of say it's generally going to be probably kind of in the 4 to 8 minute range. There's some research indicating that the heavy low rep squats might result in a longer potentiation window than, say, the plyometric jumps, but in either case, all three exercises could still result in a potentiation window. And then the next question is, how do we take advantage of that, or how do we leverage that in competition? Okay, so the potentiation window can actually vary by athlete and depending on the activation stimulus or the type of exercise that's being utilized. So you can actually test this. You can say, well, let's be fully warmed up, try doing a 30 meter acceleration sprint, and then test it. Let's try after 4 minutes, after 6 minutes, after 8 minutes doing your test of maybe another 30 meter sprint, and then what are your times 4, 6, and 8 minutes after that activation stimulus, and then whatever your best output is there, that would be a good indication of what your potentiation window is, at least for that type of activation stimulus. Again, in this case being the 30 meter sprint. It might vary depending on other types of activation stimuli. So when it comes to implementing this concept of the potentiation window into an actual 100 meter start scenario, again, you're going to have a very finite time between your activation stimulus and the actual start of your race. There's likely going to be multiple heats prior to your heat. Could be several women's heats, several men's heats. I'm a masters athlete in my 50s, so I'm further back in the heats, and so yes, implementing this sort of concept in an actual race scenario is going to be a little more challenging. It's probably easier to implement in a practice scenario where you just want to maybe just test what your best time might be at 60 meters or 100 meters and so forth. In practice, it could possibly implemented, say, maybe in a football scenario where you want your receivers to be kind of at their prime prior to going out, calling a long pass route or something like that. But I will admit, yes, implementing this concept of the potentiation window into an actual 100-meter race is going to be a little more challenging when there are many heats involved. And again, you know, the time between heats, you know, when given the potential of false starts and delays and so forth, you just as the athlete, you don't really have control over that time period. So implementation is a little more of a challenge, but the concept I think is still interesting to understand, and hopefully you learned something today. So I certainly learned something this weekend. So until next video.